looks like they brought the car in again, further problems.
Oh, same problem again. It's just something broken or cracked and it's crabbing and everything like that, but we're not sure what it is yet. So it's nothing really obvious, but it's just not much fun.
Those are the worst problems you can ever get, really, when you don't know what they are.
Yeah, oh, these guys will find it the best in the business, but it's just time's ticking.
Okay, Jamie, let's clarify that. These guys aren't going crab fishing. Crabbing is that in a perfect world, when you go down, okay, you let go of the steering wheel, the car will keep going in a straight line. What he means by crabbing is that the wheel alignment's out, so the back of the car is actually offset to the front of the car. You deliver the power, it almost makes the cars undrivable. So the guys are doing the right things, see if they can remedy the issue and get back out.
Well, they have had some dramas because they were running inside the top three. They made an earlier pit stop, so they've obviously got some issues. The team run by Motorsport Services, David Taylor, does a very good job with these race cars, as this looks like the first scheduled stop for the Carters Ford. The race leader comes into pit lane for the first of their scheduled stops.
Well, in comes the race leader. Dwayne Carter brings this Ford Falcon in, and they've had a pretty good race. They've got about a 4-lap lead. So this is a regulation stop. Dwayne's getting out of the car. Matt's going to get in. So changing 4 tyres on the car. And in goes the fuel rig. So this will be a pretty quick stop, and the thing is that they've got about a 4-lap lead, so it's looking fairly comfortable for them at the moment.
And Mark, that is a pretty massive lead. 4 laps at this stage of the race. We haven't yet got to the 2-hour update as yet, so you know the ball really is in their court.
It is, and that's just methodical thinking to say they've had a little bit of luck with all the attrition with the Porsche guys, but these guys are circulating. You see how cool, calm and collected the team were. There was no urgency in anything. That's just the forward planning, just having a contingency plan. The thing I have about this whole picture, if you look in front there, you'll see all the brake dust on the ground. Roger, can you give us an update on that?
Well, Mark, we're just having a look down here in pit lane, and something that's interesting on the Carter Falcon is the fact that there's a lot of brake dust coming out of the front. So maybe what are we're probably 2 hours into the race, so maybe they're going to have to do a brake change or something like that on this car, because I'd say they'll be using a bit of pads through this race.
Thanks, Roger. Well, that could be interesting. Something to watch out for as we head towards the 2-hour mark of the Altherm 1000. The race leaders with a scheduled stop. They continue on in the race lead. Matt Carter now behind the wheel of the Carter's V8 Ford. We'll be back with more after this. Coming up towards the 2-hour mark at Hampton Downs, the race leaders, the Carter's Ford, has just pitted. Roger, you've got Dwayne Carter down in pit lane after that stint.
We're down here with Dwayne Carter, and Dwayne, you did the first stint and you've led, well, you started from pit lane basically and had you claw your way through the field.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. We didn't make qualifying because of an electrical problem, but we got it sorted and started from pit lane and come through the field. Thought we were going to have a bit of a work cut out catching the Porsche, but done a splash and dash on the safety car, and then just chipped away and caught up.
When you got past the Porsche, looks like there was a bit of an incident there.
Yeah, I was just coming up to him at the end of the straight there, and he was about to pass the slower car, and they come together and spun up. So yeah, this is good for us.
Your brother's in the car now, so everything feel okay with it?
Yeah, everything's fine. The car's going good. Tyres were good. We're just going to nurse it home now, and we've got a comfortable lead, so hopefully we don't break anything.
Thanks, Roger. Well, the race really has fallen into their hands, Mark, and they can afford to be a little bit conservative at outright lap speed right now.
Yeah, actually don't agree with you there, Jamie, for the simple reason being is that the minute you take some speed out of these cars, the tyre pressures drops, then you lose grip. You lose aerodynamic efficiencies that the cars have, so that also affects it as well. But then you start getting into different areas. You start missing apexes and that. So to keep the consistency going, you've got to keep a good old speed going. But I'm going back to what we saw before. I believe that car's going to be in brake problems because there's a lot of dust. We haven't seen that off the Porsches or any other cars that have stopped. The dust was everywhere. So, hey, look, we've got a long race to go. I can't help but think that this here could be the Achilles heel in this team.
So there's the Taylor Civic going through. This is Andre Heimgartner and Gavin Dawson. Now they're in a battle for the Mini Challenge lead with the Kirkpatrick Bailey Mini Cooper. Andre Heimgartner recently just tied up the South Island Formula 4 Championship. He's been contesting the Zone New Zealand Formula 4 Championship as well, an up-and-coming young racer out of karts. Here's a class update with Suzuki, and it is the Lauder number 87 machine that leads that car. That's the 14 of Collinson and Grant Ryan. Grant Ryan, a regular in the Suzuki Swift Sport Cup this past season. These guys running in about the 13th position overall.
Well, Jamie, the things that surprised me is the attrition rate of all the Porsches. It's just fallen by the wayside. Roger, what's your take on it?
Yeah, they certainly have, really. I mean, you've got the Bagnall-Pedersen car in second place, but they even have a problem when Ant put it off the track and came in with a flat tyre. So really, the lifestyle, it hasn't been a good day. The McLennan car's been in the pits, it's been there for a long time. But some of these production cars, for example, Jeff Shorty's up in the 4th, the Billington entry up in the 5th place. So as we thought later in the race, Mark, those cars are going to come into contention.
Thanks, Roger. So at the 2-hour update, it is the Carter Falcon leading from the Bagnall-Pedersen Porsche, the Dippy Madron Porsche, Short and Walden 4th overall in the Mitsubishi Evo, another Evo in 5th with Billington and Parker in the DeVette, a Gill Evo in 6th, Aitken and Liston still leading production, and a safety car. Well, we talk about this race complexion changing, and it's the Bagnall-Pedersen car out of the 2nd position, stopped out on track, Mark.
Yeah, look, we saw that car have a flat tyre in a similar part of the track a few laps ago, so whatever's happened, look, here comes the record truck, they're dragging that car off, so that looks terminal.
Now this is a regulation stop, and really it's the only Porsche today that's really been running under regulation clockwork. So they've done the tyre change, putting up the old catch net, and I think they get this car back on the racetrack, and at the moment, 2nd overall, they're looking good.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Well, they will now be 2nd because they would have taken advantage of the Bagnall-Pedersen car stopping out on track. So more dramas for the Porsches.
Look, this team's just been the sleeping giant, isn't it? It's just been sitting there unnoticed, circulating, and all of a sudden they're 2nd overall in the race. You can't say they've inherited it because they're doing a better job because a lot of guys have fallen by the wayside.
Now the race leaders also pitted the Carter Ford back in the pits. They've dumped some fuel in it.
Well, this looks like it's an unscheduled stop here for the Carter entry. They're currently leading the race, but bit of concern here. They've just had a word to Matt Carter, put a little bit of fuel in, and he's back out on the racetrack.
I disagree, Roger. I think that's all a strategic move on their part. The safety car was out. They brought it in, they took the opportunity to refuel. But more importantly, you actually see the guy looked inside the right front tyre, maybe checking the brake pads. We know that's going to be an issue on this car.
Now, I noticed, Mark, on that stop that one of the crew was gesturing to his ear like maybe they were having a radio communication problem.
Could be as well. Look, you know, this is a team sport, and a major part of that is the communication from the driver back to the pit and vice versa, and it's done via two-way radio, believe it or not. If there's no communication, the team don't have any other way to tell the driver what's going on, so you're probably right, Jamie. Also took that opportunity to fix any issues they may have had.
So here's the Bagnall-Pedersen Porsche in the pits. This is their 2nd drama after a flat tyre with Ant Pedersen behind the wheel. This time they've stopped out on track. The International Motorsport team with some work to do. So up into 2nd now is the Alan Diffie Mark Madron Lone Star 996, 2nd overall, leading the 996 category.
Look, you have to say, these guys are doing a sterling job, haven't they? All our concentration has been on the Evans and the Cunninghams and the Bagnalls, etc. But these guys have just circulated. They've stayed out of trouble. And look where they are, 2nd place. Guys, that's a tremendous effort, and let's just hope they can continue.
So we're past half race distance. The Carters lead in the Falcon. From this car, the Lone Star number 77, Alan Dippy and Mark Madron. We've got more from down in the pits. Roger Davis, you've got Ant Pedersen, and what are their issues?
And it looks like the bad luck in the camp continues because you bought this car, and what's happened?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I think we've done a drive shaft from what we've diagnosed. So it's frustrating. We're in a good spot there. It's motor racing, I guess.
Are these cars, because the other cars have had a similar issue like drive shaft or rear end problem? Is it the track or what is it?
I'm not too sure. This is the first time we've been here in these cars, so it's a learning curve for everyone. But we've done endurance races in these cars before down south. They do it all around the world, so the cars can cope. It's just one of those things. We'll download the data and see what went wrong.
Great, thanks.
That's one thing about this Hampton Downs circuit. It's an international standard. It's such a unique, dynamic, fantastic circuit. But when Chris and Tony lay the circuit, they got a high level of grip in the track. It adds to the dynamics of it all. It's not a criticism, it's just that these cars have such high loadings because of the high level of grip in there. So maybe that's what's contributing towards that. It's a new surface, it's something which is new for New Zealand, new for all these teams. It's the first time I had an endurance race there, so maybe, just maybe, it's all part of the whole package that these cars are starting to have a few technical issues.
Yeah, well, extra loads, and you've got to build the cars to suit the conditions, don't you, as the Joblin and Nissan comes out of the pit, and they were running at about the 17th position, just past the 2-hour mark. So as they rejoin the track, let's have a look at the productions. And it is the Aitken Evo still leading from the Skeet Subaru, the Taylor Honda Civic Type R in third, and Joblin and Silverton running fourth overall in class. And overall race update, the Carter Ford leads from the Dippy Porsche, and then it's 4 Evos, the Billington, Short, DeVeth and Aitken Evos completing the top 6, Simon Skeets in 7th, and the Taylor Civic in 8th. And the first of our minis now running in the 10th position, James Kirkpatrick and Ryan Bailey in the number 2. That's a great effort to get up inside the top 10.
And that's a good thing about little cars in endurance racing. They can run on the smell of an oily rag and they just keep circulating and keep going. And, you know, they only got to stop probably once or twice, as most of the big guys are 2, maybe 3 times. So let's see. But one thing we know is the weather. The clouds are getting a bit darker out there.